Outside Nigeria now, President Joe Biden has promised a peaceful and orderly transition after Donald Trump won the presidential election. Speaking at the White House, President Biden paid tribute to the vice president's inspiring campaign. In his speech, Mr. Biden's speech was both reassuring for his supporters and conciliatory to his opponents, and that's the point he appears to have made. He also promised to help Donald Trump in the transition between administrations, stressing that the Democrats will accept a peaceful transfer of power, which some might interpret as a jab at his predecessor. His short speech also included a defense of his administration and acknowledgement that the economy may, in large part, have lost Harris the election. Meanwhile, Mr. Trump is weighing appointments to his top team after his decisive election victory. Joining me now for more updates is reporter with Voice of America, Catherine Gibson, joins us live from Washington, D.C. Catherine, thank you for joining us again. President Biden appears to have re-echoed what we had Kamala Harris say during her concession speech at the Howard University. We accept the choice the country has made, and we are committed to a peaceful transition. What should we expect to see happen in the coming days with Biden and Harris still having some 70 days in office?
Well, of course, they're going to be helping President-elect Donald Trump with the transition process. President Biden has invited President Trump to the White House for a meeting. So the peaceful transfer of power is already well underway, which, as you may remember, is a little bit different from last time when Trump handed over the reins of power to Biden. He encouraged his supporters to attack the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, to overturn that electoral process. But here we see Biden and Harris pledging to support Trump because they say it's important to respect the Constitution of the United States and to always put the country over political party.
Exactly what the Obamas are saying. They just released a statement in the same faith saying things may not have gone our way, but we must respect democracy. President Biden appears to have taken a jab at Donald Trump when he said he hopes this election quiets doubts about the integrity of the process and that of election workers, perhaps referring to the misinformation spread by Trump and Republicans about the 2020 election. Do you think this exercise was in any way a referendum for the integrity of elections in America?
Well, I think you'll certainly see more of President Trump's supporters believing in the electoral process and believing that the vote counting was indeed legal. You won't certainly be seeing any complaints from them about this election. But, you know, it remains to be seen if there's a bigger gap in understanding about the electoral process and, quite frankly, the amount of misinformation that's still coming into this country about the election and about some of the candidates. So even though Trump supporters will be happy with this election, there's a bigger question in the United States about electoral misinformation and how we really make sure we're informed as voters in this country.
There are reported stories of protests. Is that something you've heard about?
I haven't heard of any protests anywhere.
All right, in Mr. President's conversation with President-elect Trump, we are hearing that he's now invited the President-elect to a meeting at the White House. Do you expect some awkward moments in the coming days, given the bitter rivalry between both of them?
Well, I think it's always going to be a little bit awkward when one side has lost the election and one side has won it. But I think what we already saw from President Biden this morning in Washington, D.C., is that he was very graceful in defeat, and he really emphasized the principles of the U.S. Constitution, and that no matter what, the peaceful transfer of power is one of the foundational elements of American democracy, and he intends to follow through on that.
Kamala Harris is also constitutionally required to preside over certifying this election. That's another potentially awkward moment. But what's the current situation with the counting? How far is the margin of win for Mr. Trump as we speak?
Well, he's certainly won more than enough electoral college votes to secure the presidency. And as we already heard, Vice President Harris did gracefully concede to him at Howard University yesterday. So, well, of course, it will be awkward to be sitting there and having lost the presidency. We already know that the Biden administration is going to facilitate that peaceful transfer of power.
Voice of America reporter Catherine Gibson, thank you so much for your thoughts.